Joining me now to talk about all of it, the great Bret Baier, anchor of Special Report, and author of To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment. Thank you, Bret, for giving us some of your time. We appreciate it very much.
Hey, Larry.
Let me just tap in, politically, Xi and Biden. It didn't look like much. I don't know. You tell me, what's the fallout from these meetings?
Well, we didn't get a lot of specifics, Larry. We got military-to-military connection, that they could pick up the phone. I guess that's a positive because there are things that can happen in the South China Sea that are ugly if you can't get a hold of anybody picking up the phone. You have a deal around the edges of a fentanyl deal that China is going to agree to something, but as far as how that's going to be enforced and what it looks like, we don't really have any details. Other than that, it was more of a meeting, it seemed, for the Chinese president to meet with American CEOs. China's economy is, as you know, been hurting as of late. It seems like the U.S. should be in a position to have the upper hand, but I'm not sure the deliverables have been laid out. The one thing that we saw, President Biden said, was asked whether he still thinks he's a dictator, and he said yes, he still is. And that got all kinds of pushback from the Chinese. Of course, President Biden is right. President Xi is a dictator, but in that environment, you wonder in the fallout of all of that.
I kind of like that dictator part. I cannot tell a lie. Well, one thing that puzzled me, the State Department, the headline here, Bret, State Department doubles down on climate cooperation with China as Xi's economy goes on a coal bin. They're going to build over 300 coal plants. And I don't know, John Kerry was at these meetings. No one seemed to say anything about that. And I can't figure out what kind of climate cooperation they're talking about.
I mean, it really is astonishing. Are they going to, what exactly is going to happen on the climate? You had Secretary Kerry 2 seats down from the president at that table in the 4-hour negotiations. In 2022, China added 2 coal-fired plants every week.
Yes, sir.
And that is a stat that is not going away, and I'm not sure that they got any deliverables from this meeting to stop that.
All right, Bret, I've got a great piece of sound. I want you to hear that. You know it's coming probably, but here's Joe Biden on the California governor. Take a listen, please.
I want to talk about Governor Newsom. I want to thank him. He's been one hell of a governor, man. Matter of fact, he could do anything you want. He could have the job I'm looking for.
Now, Bret, you're the political expert, not me. I'm the business guy. Did he just offer Gavin Newsom his job? What happened there?
He was joking about it, but sometimes through the jokes you hear some truth. I'm sure he hears the footsteps of Governor Newsom because Newsom has been at the southern border, taping something about the border crisis. He has been to China one-on-one with President Xi. He has been to Israel to support the Israelis. That is not your average California governor travel, and I'm sure President Biden hears the footsteps one way or another.
I mean, the Fox polls come out. They're very unfavorable for Mr. Biden. Most of the other polls are unfavorable for Mr. Biden. Is there anything, in your judgment, is there anything to the Gavin Newsom or other speculation? How do you read it, Bret Baier?
I mean, I hear it all over the place. I hear it in Democratic circles. I hear the concern about the president's age. 77% of people polled say it's a real problem. But I don't see, Larry, how the shoe drops, how it logistically happens, that he gets out of the race, doesn't pass the baton to his vice president, Kamala Harris, and suddenly Gavin Newsom is appointed. I just don't see the logistics. So right now, I think it is President Biden, and it looks like positioning for former President Trump, the way the polls are facing things. I think Gavin Newsom has aspirations, but maybe not this time.
Last one from the Fox poll again. 70% say that President Biden is too accommodating to Iran. All right, and that's a big issue, and he's tried to shy away from that. Iran has been hitting our military assets, as you know well. I think they're up to almost 60 hits now. We haven't really done much more than pinprick responses. Where is this going to lead? How big a problem is this going to be for Mr. Biden politically, but also, maybe more importantly, for the United States and its security interests?
It's a big deal. There were 56 attacks on U.S. troops in bases in the Middle East. At the same time, the administration signed a waiver to free up $10 billion from Iraq to pay for electricity. Now, this was a waiver that actually started in 2018 in the Trump administration, but they've expanded it so that they can use not Iraqi dinars, but be transmitted to euros, meaning that money is fungible, and Iran gets this money one way or another. The administration says it's for humanitarian purposes, but critics say once they get that money, they can spend other money. They spend $100 million a year on Hamas. They spend $700 million a year on Hezbollah and all of these other Iranian proxies that are in turn going after U.S. troops at this moment. So that poll, you're starting to see Americans wake up to some of that.
Yeah, I think so. So we do like to sell books, and you're awful nice to come on the show. The book is To Rescue the Constitution, George Washington and the Fragile American Experiment. Bret, where do you think George Washington's influence was most timely, was the absolute inflection point of driving the constitutional process?
Well, as the head of the Constitutional Convention, he kind of brought all sides together on really big issues, Larry, like, states' rights versus federalism, what the representation would be in big states and small states. But most importantly, once he gets it across the finish line and then helps to ratify it, he becomes the first president. And nobody is, telling him what to do. He's creating it. And the biggest thing he did there is step down after 2 terms. Wow. If we didn't have George Washington, Larry, we wouldn't be here talking like we are.
I haven't read the full book. I read parts of the book. I think you may be right, Bret Baier. Honestly, what would we have done without George Washington? It's almost unfathomable. Anyway, Bret, great book. I hope everyone goes out and buys it. One click on your favorite bookseller. And Bret Baier, thanks for helping our show. We appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you. You bet, Larry.
Folks, be sure to catch Bret every night, special report, 6 p.m. Eastern on Fox News.